Good morning, Gary, and good morning, Ollie. Good to see you both. Ollie, I want to start with you first of all. Football right now, clubs, players, the game in general, under real scrutiny. What do you make of it?
Well, morning, first of all, morning. For me, it's football's an easy target sometimes, and for me, it's unfair to call on any individuals or football uh, as a group because I know that players do a great amount of work in the community, and loads of players they're doing a lot to help this situation. Discussions are, of course, taking place between the players and clubs. What kind of contribution they're gonna make? It's not easy for anyone, and to be called out, it's not fair for me.
I mean, everything is contextual, right?
Go on.
Sorry.
Go on, Gary.
Yes, guys.
No, Manchester United made a big announcement yesterday, Ollie, which was welcome. But the game has been dragged through the mud in the last week with obviously prominent MPs and obviously clubs making decisions that haven't gone down well. What can football do in these next few days to resurrect the public opinion? Because it doesn't seem to be capturing the mood at the moment of the nation.
I think it's important that, of course, mistakes are being made and have been made by loads of people, and that's just how we learn as well. But I don't really want to go into all that. But now it's about making better decisions, good decisions. I think we all want to help the NHS, the communities. I think it's important that every single club do what they think is right. We can't really tell anyone you should do this, you should do that. I think we're all good people, and I'm sure we all want this to be over with as soon as possible. And for me, it's about following the guidelines from the government as well.
I mean, everything is contextual around the coronavirus right now. You know, none of us have ever had to deal with this before. But taking Gary's point further, right now, what is football's role? How can football at this moment help society?
Well, first of all, I've said it before. We are role models. Sometimes we're heroes in football. At the moment, we have to take a back step. The real heroes are the workers in the front line. That's, I think, everyone appreciates and really admires what they're doing. But let's follow the guidelines. But then we can do. Football is very important for mental health for many, and for the community, for society. I think when we get back to normality, I think we're all happy that football is being played again. At the moment now, I've seen players doing some video conferences, we're doing light challenges with each other, of course being role models, sending messages, sticking to those messages. That's another thing.
Ollie, you were a Manchester United player for many, many years and understand the responsibility of being a Manchester United player. What advice have you been given to your players in the last couple of weeks? Because obviously players in general have been taking quite a bit of criticism.
Yeah, well, I've not really had to give him any advice as in how to be portrayed, because the boys have learned over the years. Some have made mistakes over the years. I've been very happy with how they've conducted themselves now. It's about what can they do to help, but also look after themselves and their families, because we shouldn't forget that these are players who are used to playing in front of X amount of thousand people, spectators. They're training every day with their teammates, their competition. They're missing that competition as well, so they've got to look after themselves, the mental health, the physical fitness. So that's one of the big things. Just look after yourself and do what you can, and if you can help, we all do the media. I know loads of players are contributing financially and mentally by even just ringing around, talking to different people and helping out.
Ollie, you talked about, some of the stuff that players have done on social media to help out, bring a little bit of levity to the situation, just to try and bring some relief. Are we going to be seeing anything from the Solskjaer household in terms of could be a dance routine, or it could be a keep you up challenge? What have you got for us? What have you got in your locker?
I don't really have a lot in the. I've always been quite a private guy, and Gary's heard me sing in karaoke, and I don't think I'll do any of that stuff. But of course, my kid, I'm doing my homeschooling, and my kids are doing summages with their mates, and I'm joining in on them. I don't really have to do all the other stuff, I feel.
What are the lads doing?
For you, Ollie, in terms of, sorry, Gary, what's the biggest challenge for you, Ollie? Because, again, obviously you've already put everything in context, but you are the manager of Manchester United, and you still have to manage the club right now. What's been the biggest challenge in terms of leading your squad and preparing to return to football when you've got no idea when that is?
And that's the biggest challenge, probably, to the unknown, not knowing when we're going to start, because you want to hit the when you get going, but is it in 6 weeks' time, or is the league going to be starting end of May? Is it mid-June? Is it not going to start this next season? So you all got to just not sit on the fence, but you've got to just watch the situation carefully. Think about the next step. Speak to the coaches, coaching staff. Of course, I've spoke to the club quite a lot during this period, and I think it's important that we don't make any knee-jerk decisions early and make decisions that we'll regret. So we've tried to be sensible with the players. On some of them got family in different countries, so early on some of them decided to go to the country. Not many. Most of them are based here. You've got to think about the mental health, but also when we start, we need to be ready enough to kick on, because if the league's going to be finished with games, with either a crowd or behind closed doors, we need to catch up a few points to move up the table.
Ollie, in terms of this period, and obviously you're at home like everybody else and you're not in contact with your players, but just a couple of questions in terms of, what are you personally doing in terms of planning, but what are the players doing on a daily basis?
Well, they've got their individual programs, obviously. They're been in touch with the fitness coaches. They're doing sessions together. You speak to them. You maybe, because most of them got decent big gardens. They can be outside training, practicing a little bit. You've got to just hone them skills. The biggest thing is for me that we're mentally coping and doing the right things. Not being bored, making daft decisions that will kick back at you, because we've seen people now doing the right things, staying at home, and we should now, when we're starting to get a bit of control of this virus, we need to do that better, even more so, and physically, mentally, switch off at times. Don't even think, because you can't just focus on, I have to be ready in 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, all the time, because they need a off period. And for me now, I want them to have April more or less relaxed, because if we get back in May, I want everyone really ready to work again.
I mean, it'd be great to see some of those sessions that the lads are doing in the garden, if they're willing to share them with us, because I think it would lift all, obviously, football fans, Manchester United fans. But for you personally, and yep. I think exploit's the wrong word, but one of the things that you and your scouting and your technical staff can do, obviously, in this period where you're at home. And I know that Manchester United had difficulties in the last 8 years in the transfer market, but you've had 3 or 4 really good signings with Harry Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, Daniel James, and Bruno Fernandes. The clubs with the most money, there is no doubt they're going to be in a stronger position to exploit this situation, or see the opportunity when the transfer market picks up. Is it something that you're discussing internally now in terms of this could be the time to strike? And I know it seems a little bit exploitative, but Manchester United do have obviously more money than most, and they do have cash reserves. Is it a time where Manchester United, who need to climb back up those 4 or 5 places to get to number one again, could really go into the market quite heavily this summer because of this time you've now got, and clubs will need the money?
Well, football is going to get back to normality at one point, and it's very important that we're ready to when that happens. And we want to be the best at everything. And of course, now is a chance to you spend more time. You discuss players, you discuss plans. We've evaluated what we need. We've, of course, with the coaching staff, we've looked at games, evaluated games, discussed between ourselves on video calls like this. Then, as you say, the market, who knows how the market's going to react to this? Who knows which clubs need to sell players? And there might be just a situation there that happens that you can exploit. And I know that we at Man United, we are one of the biggest or the biggest, and we're financially well off. And I'm sure that we are capable of when we get back to normality, that we can do the business that we want to.
Have you found yourself, Ollie, talking perhaps more to other people within the club, following on from Gary's point? Because right now, whilst you can't be out there on the training pitch and talking with your players, you can be talking about potential transfer targets. So you found yourself spending perhaps more time than you normally would on that side of things.
I wouldn't. I really enjoy when we spend a lot of time discussing these things anyway. But of course, there'll be text messages, there'll be WhatsApp messages more often. There will discussions. But then again, the biggest difference for most of us is when you're a footballer, you don't really get time to spend with your family, and that's been the nice thing about this, that you can see all the time, and that's been a big plus, if you're allowed to say that anything's been a big plus of this situation. But yeah, we are planning, we are discussing what we have to do, what we can do, and I have to say the club has been very good so far.
Obviously, this is an unwelcome crisis for everybody in the country. Ollie, health obviously is absolutely the priority, but Paul Pogba was injured before the actual coronavirus outbreak and the lockdown. Is it now a case that when you do return potentially in May, June, that he will be fit and ready and flying and ready to go?
Well, I think that, so other players as well, Paul and Marcus, they've been out injured. They were supposed to come back and would have had to catch up with the rest of them. Now we've still got games left, and I think everyone in the league will start more or less on the same level, because they've been deconditioned. Maybe they've got more motivation to keep going now, as they can see when they come back they might be on the same level or even higher, better level physically. So in a way, for them, they've gotten an opportunity here to play a bigger part of this season than they maybe hoped for. So and they're good, or they're big players for us. Some of the most important players.
Ollie, I read you said before that players have gone back to the home countries. I think Victor Lindelof's gone back to Sweden, who are treating this coronavirus outbreak completely differently. In fact, I think they're one of the only countries in Europe that are not applying any form of lockdown whatsoever, as I understand it. Are you a little bit worried about that in terms of the exposure that he may have over there? And have you spoken to him about what's happening over in Sweden, different to England?
Yeah, I've kept in touch with the players, and Victor is one of them, and we allowed him to go back to his family back in Sweden, and that it's a different scenario. And who knows what's the right decision. I have to say, I'm not an expert, and we are now in 50 years' time in school. This will be part of history learning. and then maybe we'll have the outcome and the right decisions. So I just hope that it's over as soon as possible. Victor, of course, is in a different position than we are, so hopefully he'll still be sensible, and I'm sure he is, because he's a sensible boy.
Ollie, you've made it very clear that it's all about perspective, and obviously this thing, this pandemic is a global scenario. But in terms of your specific job, how much will the challenge be when football gets back to whenever that is? Is it at all possible, do you think, for you to continue the momentum because you've just been hitting some good form of late? Or do you think mentally you've almost got to start again?
Well, I've always been impressed by the players. When we've had breaks, when they come back to pre-season, they were really focused. We had the mid-season break now. The players had been keeping in good shape and they're ready. They were focused. We did a few things tactically in that week in Marbella. And the last, as you say, the last period, we've been really good. So, yes, we can kick on. I'm sure we can get a good start and climb up that table, because that's what we need to do if we keep doing the right things. Because the coaches, they've been tremendous. Gary, Michael's been absolutely fantastic with his ideas, and Kieran, absolute top coach. They're working now on a plan. Do we have 2 weeks pre-season? Do we have 3 weeks pre-season? Of course, they're ready to kick on, and I'm sure that we've targeted, or the players have targeted this positions just ahead of us and even with the FA Cup and the Europa League. If that's going to go ahead, we've got good chances there.
Ollie, you just touched on a question or points that I was going to ask you about in terms of your coaching staff. You've obviously got Mike Phelan, Kieran, you've got Michael Carrick. What is the dynamic on the training pitch in terms of who does the training, who takes the coaching sessions? Do they split into groups? What do you do in terms of the sort of on-field stuff, or do you leave it, as Sir Alex did, to the coaches to be able to actually manage the sessions?
Well, Michael and Kieran are the ones mostly in charge of the sessions, like we used to do before with Rene and Carlos maybe, and Martin Perth is in there helping them, and me and Mick, we are not as involved in the coaching as I've been before, as Mick's been before. Now we are leaving it to the young lads, and they've been tremendous, I have to say. I'm impressed by everything they're doing, the ideas they come up with, some great discussions, and I'm not as involved as I've been before with Molde and maybe Cardiff.
Ollie, this crisis hit football yesterday directly, and hit Manchester as well, with the terrible news that Pep Guardiola's mother passed away and lost her life to this virus. Have you got a message for him?
Yeah, Pep, we all think about him, of course, and his family, and of course it just goes to show that we have to, when we have the chance to spend time with our loved ones. And for me, Pep is such a fantastic human being and a manager, and one that I've admired for many years, and I just hope that he could take care and look after himself and look after his own family in this difficult period, because you don't wish that upon anyone.
Ollie, obviously we are all missing football, and like all the other broadcasters, we've got nothing to show right now. So we've been enjoying some nostalgia. We've been looking back, and that's been a bit of light relief. But I have to tell you that I don't know if you're aware of this. I spoke to I think you still call Gary a friend, but certainly a former colleague, and we were reminiscing about the treble year of '99, that team, that spirit. And the first thing he wanted to say was his very first impression of you. The words were, when Ollie turned up, I genuinely thought he was a competition winner. He looked nothing like a footballer. Basically, he absolutely battered you from top to bottom. And firstly, to give you the right to reply.
And then I battered him when we started playing football.
Exactly. Gave your answer on the pitch. What were your first impressions of him? It's only fair to ask the question the other way round.
Oh, definitely. You know, Gaz is a guy you either love or hate. I've been sat next to him for 11 years in the dressing room, and we've had some arguments and discussions. But he always makes up with a kiss in the forehead. He does. And when you score a goal, that was the last thing you wanted, him to come up and kiss you. So, but what a teammate to have. And I'm sure that we could have quite a few hours here talking about the fun moments we've had in the dressing room. But I absolutely, when I came there, I was nervous, of course. But then Nicky Butt came. He was the first I met. Nicky just brought me down to the dressing room, and they were all normal lads. And that's the thing with footballers. We're just normal lads, just good at kicking a ball, some of us, and some are good at kicking ankles, like Gaz was.
When you look back, Ollie, I mean, as you say, we could spend hours talking about it. But if you had to choose one word that summed up the strength of that team during that era, or one word that summed them up, what would it be?
Oh, that's impossible to do one word. But you could have given me that question before, so I could have been thinking about it. But camaraderie.
All right, I'll give you a couple of words.
Team spirit, camaraderie, and competitors, because we kicked out of each other in training, but then we went together and won games of football. And the other night I was looking forward to it. MUTV, it was on. We had Everton at home, 5-1 win. Do you remember that one, Gaz?
I don't remember any games, Ollie. Honestly, it's terrible.
I thought I did, because I scored 4 goals in that game. I should have maybe had 2 or 3 more, but I didn't touch the ball otherwise. So I was so disappointed in my own performance when I watched it. So that was
Ollie,
just
what
after
was the best argument you had, Ollie?
Sorry?
What was the best argument you had with Gary? What was the best argument you had with him? And did you ever win an argument with him?
No, you can't win an argument with Gaz. No chance. But because that jumper he's got on, that's red if he wants it to be red in his discussion. So that's impossible. So you have conversations. You let him win, and then you think that you let him think he wins, and then you know that you've got the right arguments yourselves.
Trust me, Ollie.
It's interesting, Geoff.
We feel your pain.
Geoff, it's interesting. It's interesting. Ollie was when Ollie first retired. He was doing some work with the first team players, with René team. Maybe some lads that were in between the first team and reserves, or lads that maybe were coming back from injury. I remember talking to Ollie one day, and he said to me, he was taking over the reserve team, and he said to me, "I want to play with a system of 4-2-2-2." And I was like, "You are? What are you going on about?" And for about 3 or 4 years, I heard people coming up with different systems and different things. I just thought he was, to be fair, coming up with nonsense stuff, to be fair. I just thought all these sort of modern different fads that were coming out. Actually, you start to watch, say, for instance, let's say Mancini's City. Sometimes they would play with David Silva tucked in behind the front players, and they'd play Aguero and Balotelli up front, and on the other side they'd have Nasri tucked in, and that system started to develop. So he does think about the game completely differently, and thinks about the game all the time. And obviously went over to Molde to go and learn his trade. But he does think about the game all the time. And I think that, to me, that's what told me that I could never be a coach or a manager, because I don't think about the intricacies of football tactics and technical work every single minute of every day. All he did, to be fair to him. So I do reflect upon sometimes the conversations I've had with him, and thinking a few years later, actually, he was right then, even though I told him he was wrong.
Wow.
Well, yeah,
Ollie,
you do.
Ollie, you've done a top journalist job there, Ollie. You've teased that. Okay, that's a genuine world exclusive. Gary Neville admits he was wrong once. Wow.
Ollie, tell me about Norway and what's happening in Norway. Have you got a message for the Norwegian fans, Norwegian people? Obviously, we don't know quite what's going on over there, but can you tell us a little bit about what is going on over in Norway with the virus?
Well, I've got, of course, we're watching and following, and Norway is one of the better, if you say, countries in how you got control of the virus. Now it's important that you don't just open up again, and it's a free-for-all. Football's been locked down until end of May. Football teams have just started being able to work in groups of fives. So there's a group of five in one half of the pitch. There's a group of five one on the other half of the pitch. Of course, I've been keeping in touch with Molde and Arling. They're my assistant, who's now managing them. Of course, we want the league to start there soon, because that was supposed to start. Was it this weekend? I think this weekend or last weekend, and it's getting closer. I feel the health system there, they've got good control at the moment, but it's important that we don't open up. And yeah.
What did they do, Ollie? You said they've got good control of it. What did they do different than what we're doing here?
Well, I think they made the decision a little bit earlier to close schools, the lockdown, and it was just, I don't know if they, of course, Norway is a country with less people, and it's a big country. You might just be more able to control it in that environment. We don't have the cities the size of London, for example. So Oslo has been the more difficult city to control the virus. So I think that goes for all. With the more people, the more difficult it is to control. And you have
Ollie,
to depend on the people to follow the guidelines.
Ollie, last two from me before we wrap up. It's been great to hear from you. Firstly, what or which box sets have you been binging on while you're at home? And also, you've got fans right around the world. What, or do you have a message for all of them? But first of all, the box sets. What have you been watching?
The box sets. I'm quite old-fashioned. You know, I love the Sopranos and Peaky Blinders. I've watched Sunderland Till I Die now when it came out. That keeps me a little bit involved in football, and it's fascinating to see inside different clubs. And you need some comedy as well. So Curb Your Enthusiasm or Seinfeld, some old classics. And for the fans, we all look forward to come back playing at Old Trafford, playing in front of our fantastic fans. They've been absolutely unbelievable this season with us. We've had a tough, difficult season. They all know what we're trying to do and what we are hoping to do. And I think many of them can see some little signs of a Man United team that really can go play. They're fantastic. They're working hard. They're trying to. We know we're privileged and honoured to play and manage and coach this fantastic club. So we'll come back even better.
Fantastic. It's really, really good to hear from you. Good to see you looking well. Ollie, you and your family, like everybody else, please stay safe and stay well.
All the best, Ollie.
Thanks, Geoff. Cheers, guys. See you soon.
Cheers. All the best. Cheers.